Hey everyone, it's your good buddy Spider back again with another episode of the show. There's a cat scratching a box in the background, because of course. And we have, like I said, a new episode. I'm a little iffy. I'm recovering. The cold that I had turned into a case of tonsillitis. I had swollen tonsils, and that sucked. And it's getting better now. It was only for a couple of days, but it's really kind of irritating. Considering that when I was younger, I used to get tonsillitis a lot as a kid. I've never had my tonsils out because my dad didn't figure that it was something that was necessary, and I don't think it was. Not everybody needs to have their tonsils out. It wasn't a life or death situation. I just would get sick. And that would happen. And I would usually get antibiotics. But I don't have any health insurance now. And many people, I think, would agree that now is the absolute worst time in the world to be looking for health insurance in the United States. It's a terrible, terrible time for it. The government shutdown is ending soon. A bill to reopen things, which is patently ridiculous, as I've said before, has passed the Senate, and then they're going to send it to the House, and then it's going to be signed by the President, I'm sure. But there's been no changes to health care or anything of that nature. So it's still going to be too expensive. It's still going to be out of reach. And here's the thing. Some people have said, "Oh, why don't you try the marketplace, the government marketplace, because of the Affordable Care Act?" And I've done that multiple times in the past to try to get something, and it's always been too expensive. All of the plans on the Affordable Care Act are too expensive for next to no actual real coverage. It doesn't give me anything. I get nothing that would actually... Like, the deductibles are ridiculously bad. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my particular tax bracket. I don't know. Whatever it is, I can't seem to get that free health care that many people get for being low income. I can't get it. And everything else is too expensive, so I can't have it taken out of our family checks because we have that money for bills, and we're chronically overdrawn with things as it is. And that is not a plea for funding. Like, I'm not saying that so that you'll all just give me some money. Don't take it like that. I'm not running a telethon. I'm just stating that's what the facts are. That's what's going on. Healthcare is a bad situation here in the United States. It's tough. It's real tough. And but what else can we talk about? Let's move on to other things. It snowed. It snowed yesterday here in Ohio for the first time. It didn't last all day. It melted by late afternoon. And it hasn't snowed today. It's above freezing right now. It's like 35. But we have had our first snow of the year, as brief and as small as it was, so winter is definitely coming. Winter is getting here. And I'm fighting with the furnace. Some years, the furnace works like a charm. Doesn't give me an ounce of trouble. Other years, it's you want to beat it to its components with a wrench because it just doesn't want to continue to work. It's a weird situation. I've replaced a lot of parts on this furnace. I've replaced the thermostat. I've replaced the thermostat twice. I've replaced the igniter. I replaced the control board I've replaced some other part on it. I've done so many things with it, and it'll work for a while, and then it'll act like, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing, and it'll basically just go brain dead, and it'll forget that it's got to turn the heat on. I don't know. It's a thing. Excuse me. Excuse me. So that's my life right now. I've got tonsillitis. My furnace is iffy. It's cold. And the government is a pain in the ass, as usual. Everybody knows that, right? Everybody knows that. But let's move on to a couple of topics. Let's move on to a couple of topics over here. And I'm not going to slip into my gaming voice. I use that for my game streams, but I'm not going to do that here. There's a movie out that I've had some arguments with people about. Not arguments. I mean, I don't argue on the internet anymore. I try to explain things from my point of view. And if another person's like, okay, well, I think this, then we usually have a productive conversation. I wouldn't even call it a debate. I would just say we might disagree, but we'd talk it out. But a lot of times you'll say something online, and somebody will take offense to it, regardless of how innocent it was, and they'll just go into full attack mode, and they'll just be like, "Rrr!" And you'll try to be like, well, come on, hey, I'm saying this, and they'll just be like, "Rrr!" And they'll get insulting, and it gets to be a whole thing. So I don't really argue on the internet, but sometimes I'm argued at for things that I say. And one of the things recently that I've been in discussions and argued at on the internet about is a new movie. It's a new Predator movie. It's out now. I believe as of last episode, I think I mentioned it, but it wasn't out yet. But it's out now. It's Predator Badlands. And I'm pretty sure I did mention it on the last episode. But the movie, it's rated lower than most of the other movies in the franchise, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, not everything has to be rated R to be good, right? But all of the other Predator-related movies, I think, except for the first Alien vs. Predator, I think that one was probably PG-13, and people tend to forget that, but most of the rest of the movies were R-rated. But this one's PG-13, which shouldn't make a big difference, but from what I've been reading, it kind of does. And I guess a lot of people have been saying it's a lot like a buddy cop kind of movie, or like a lot of other Disney movies where it's like two unlikely friends must overcome obstacles, and they have a creature or a pet that helps them, and blah blah blah. And so I guess he picks up some kind of creature, and he picks up a damaged Weyland-Yutani robot, a synth, as they say. And together they go through this movie. Which, it's that's not the issue really that I have. It's kind of, I don't know. It's not the best for a Predator movie, I don't think, but whichever. It's not my main area of annoyance. My main area of annoyance is with the appearance and the movements of the Predators in this movie, because they don't seem, when you watch the first movie, the Predator moves in real deliberate kind of in obviously he's bipedal, but he's not human. He has different facial expressions based on his alien anatomy for his face, but he moves like a certain way. He moves his arms and legs, and his actions, they're particular in a way that, okay, he's not moving like the way a human would move. He's obviously moving like an alien. And in this movie, the main Predator character doesn't do that. The main Predator character seems to just... he moves like a human. And his facial expressions, despite having the alien-like mouth and things, they look human-ish. Like they've been humanized. And when I've tried to explain this to people, that he doesn't look like a predator, he looks like a human, which kind of ruins the immersion a little bit, because it makes it seem to me like it's a guy in a suit. It doesn't look like an alien being. It looks like a guy in a suit, a person in a suit. When I've said that, I've been accused of, well, you must not read any of the comics because predators can show emotion, and I've not said anything about the emotional capacity. I know even from the first one, the Predator got emotional about things. He got irritated, he got angry, he was cunning, he was like, oh, okay, considering when he saw some of the traps, cocky, kind of egotistical, and I don't mind a Predator having emotions, like being upset or being happy or being sad or whatever. That's not the issue. It's that in the expression of these emotions, they're expressed in a human fashion rather than a alien fashion, like they were in the first few movies. Even Alien vs. Predator, the first movie, which I thought was kind of hokey and kind of cheesy, still they reacted like predators. They reacted like the alien, the predator. But in this one, the guy doesn't. He comes off like a guy in a suit. And it bothers me. It ruins the immersion. It ruins the immersion. So I'm probably not really going to want to watch it. I might watch it when it comes to streaming, but I'm not going to go to the theater to watch it. I'm not going to pay for it, I don't think. Because it just... I don't know. It's weird because the director of this movie is the same director who directed Prey, which was the previous live-action Predator. There was another one, Killer of Killers, which was animated in a really bizarre style, and I didn't watch that one either because I thought that was... But I watched Prey, and the Predator, even though the movie had its problems, the Predator itself moved like the other Predators in the franchise. He moved like an alien being. He expressed himself like an alien being, because that's what he is. He's not a human. He's not a mutated human. He's never been a human. He's an alien being. But in this one, in every one of the trailers that I've seen, and every one of the clips I've seen, he moves like a guy in a suit. So... And people get so upset with it. They think you're trashing the movie. They think, oh, you don't know anything about whatever. And they call you names and things. And I'm like, no, I wasn't insulting the actor. I wasn't insulting the movie. I was just saying I don't think I'm going to like it because it breaks the immersion for me, because it doesn't seem like the Predator. But people take it so personally. And they've done this before. They've done this in other things too. And I once had, and this is a completely different sort of situation, but it's a similar reaction. I worked with a kid. He was much younger than me. He was probably, 18, 19. He had just graduated school. Or maybe he was still in school and he was graduating the year that he was working. And we were working retail. and I worked with him, and he was a bit of a goofball. It happens. But we were kind of, you end up being Facebook friends with people that you work with, unless you're somebody who's really guarded. And I'm more guarded now than I was then. I was just kind of like, whatever, it wasn't a big deal. But he announced on Facebook that he was going to join the Marines. And there's nothing wrong with joining any of the military branches. That's not the point that I was going to make here. I knew his temperament, and I knew his attitude, and it didn't really seem like it was something that was for him. You know what I mean? So on the post, I was like, really? Are you sure? I mean, you might want to think about that. I don't know. I don't know, man. But, you do you. But because I said that, and because I showed any form of doubt, what followed was post after post after post from his entire family and extended family and their families and like tens of 20s of people telling me that I was a piece of trash, I was a jerk, and I was insulting the Marine Corps, and I was blah 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 blah. And I was like, no, I actually support the military in most respects. I mean, I don't support going to the Middle East and fighting for no reason, because there's a lot of stuff we're doing over there that's pointless. We got to keep to our own business. But as far as defending our own borders and protecting our interests, yeah, I'm 100% pro-military in that regard. I have no problems with military people. But they didn't listen. They absolutely would not listen when I said that. They just piled on like I was the worst person in the world. So I bowed out. I stopped. I was like, all right, whatever. You guys want to believe what you want to believe, I guess. And I haven't talked to him or any of his family since. Because, okay. But people get weird, strong opinions about this kind of thing. And it's baked in, kind of. Humans have particular ideas that no matter what kind of a culture you're trying to promote, no matter what kind of change you're trying to see in society, some things are ingrained and they're never really going to go away, I don't think. And it's kind of unfortunate because there's some things that are really kind of really tiresome. And the big topic that this leads into that I want to talk about is the concept of manliness. And I'm not going to get into a big, this is not a gender studies episode. I'm not going to get into the rights and roles and whatever of gender and stereotype. I'm not, because I don't believe I'm going to get it out in the open here. I think regardless of what you are, you can do anything you want to if you have the right skills, the right training, and the right body type. And when I say the right body type, I don't mean, oh, you must mean a muscly man body, right? Or a certain female body type, right? No, I mean, if you are male or female or whatever, and you've done extensive training in a certain area to build up muscle mass or to build up cardio or something like that, then you should be able to be equal to other people who've done that, regardless of what the gender is. Like a pro football player, if you're a male or a female or whatever, and you've put in all the different training and the different regimens and the exercise to change your body to fit that role, then you can be a pro football player. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Because of how biology works and because of how bodies are designed, you might find it a bit more difficult to reach that level if you're a certain body, a certain gender. That's not to say that it's impossible for you. It just means because bodies are different. Okay? Bodies are different. And they respond to forms of exercise in different ways. They respond to different diets in different ways. They respond to, a lot of things in the environment in different ways. Okay? So going into that, I just want to make that clear. Okay. But and the reason I'm kind of getting into this is because I keep getting these ads on YouTube. Because YouTube is my main thing as far as I've got the podcast here in audio form, but then I do the game streams on YouTube, and YouTube is a huge outlet for me. I'm monetized at the first level. I'm going to be an affiliate soon. Very, very soon. So I spend a lot of time on YouTube, not just watching random brain rot videos, but just, putting up my own videos and watching things. And one of the ads that plays constantly is for Dr. Squatch soap. And I have nothing against the makers of the soap. I have nothing against soap in general. I have nothing against the brand itself. But I hate their commercials. Because it's all, it's manly men and manlandia, and these are things that men like, and the men like this, and men should smell like this, and I'm kind of like, I do not give a shit. To be perfectly honest, I do not give a shit what they think a man should smell like, or a man should enjoy, or a man should whatever. I don't. And it reminds me of something that happened to me in school. When I was younger, of course, one of the things that happened when you get to high school, and when I was in my school system, there was a variety of pathways you could take to prepare you for life after school. You could go into college prep, you could go into the vocational training stuff to get into a trade school or a tech school. And then there was also the option to take what's called the ASFAB. I'm going to look it up and find out what it means. It's a military test, aptitude test. It's kind of skewed and it's kind of rigged, to be honest, because they'll take just about everybody. ASFAB. The Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. ASFAB. And it's a V, not an F, but it's pronounced like ASFAB, like it's an F. And it says on the little blurb on the website for the test, okay, it says it's a multi-aptitude battery that measures developed abilities and helps predict future academic and occupational success in the military. It is administered annually to more than 1 million military applicants, high school, and post-secondary students. So if you're going to go into the military, they have you take the test first. Because it's supposed to basically, I guess it's supposed to tell them if you're going to be officer material or if you're just going to be a grunt. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean if you're going to be basic infantry, if you're going to be officer or whatever. And we had recruiters come to the school often. And I don't remember if I just randomly talked to a recruiter or if the guidance counselor told me I should take it, because I had discipline problems, I had anger problems in school. That's been well known. I've mentioned that more than once. So a lot of various higher-ups who cared or thought that they cared were looking for ways to deal with me. I guess is the phrase for it. And somebody recommended I should take the ASFAB. And I was like, I have really no interest in joining the military, but whatever. And I I say that in a way that because I know my temperament, and my temperament at the time, that I had problems with authority figures. Clearly, I had problems listening to rules. I had problems following orders. I didn't like to do things for other people. And now I always said, because back when, tangent here, when September 11th happened, I had graduated school, and I had just gotten my selective service card, which is the number that you get. Everybody gets it after graduation. In the case of if there's a war and there's a draft, then they go through the numbers, because every able-bodied young adult is eligible for the draft unless you have a medical condition or something like that. So I had just gotten my my selective service card when that happened, and I was like, oh great, they're gonna call up a bunch of people to go fight overseas. And it was a common topic among friends of mine that, oh yeah, if they call you, what are you gonna do? And I had several friends who were like, well, I'll just shoot myself in the foot, or I'll just break my leg and I just won't go. And like, that seems kind of dumb. I get it, but it seemed kind of dumb. And I always said, you know what, if they call me, I'll go. I don't want to. I'm not interested in fighting in other countries, but I'll go. And that would be the only time that I would, because I'd be semi-required, that I would enlist for anything. But I wouldn't enlist just because I felt like it. I've never felt the urge to enlist just because I felt like it. Because if I want to fight somebody, I don't want to do it in that fashion. And I honestly don't want to fight anybody most days physically. I mean, I'm not like a top physical specimen or anything. I will give as good as I get, I'll say that. But I'm not out here looking to pick fights in the street with people. But I would go, and if it was required. And I would do my part, I guess, so to speak. So back to before that, when I went to take the ASVAB. So I went with a bunch of people. We all rode in a. We didn't ride in like a. We rode in kind of like a little bus, one of those short bus things, but it was like. It wasn't. I don't think it was military colored. I think it was just something they rented out for that kind of stuff. So it didn't feel like a troop transport or anything official. But I rode in that. We went to a local recruiter station and took the test. And I scored, I guess, highly enough that this is what they told me anyway. I don't know. Because I don't know what the actual basis. I don't know what the baseline of the test was, like what was good and what was bad. I just know what they told me. So I didn't really trust it, to be honest. I fudged most of the math stuff because I didn't like math, and if it wasn't basic addition and subtraction and multiplication and division, if it was anything equation-wise, I just kind of wrote down whatever, or just, I think it might have been multiple choice. I don't know. But they told me that I scored well enough to potentially be an officer. Which, considering how smart I was at the time, I didn't really doubt that. I didn't have the temperament for it. I would probably have gotten irritated at the first grunt that spoke out at me. And so I'd probably end up getting demoted for attitude. But that's what they told me. And so I'm having like the post when they go over your results with the recruiter after the fact. He's like, because he's going to give you the pitch. He's going to give you the pitch because regardless of if you score well, they still want to get people to join. Their whole goal is to get people to sign up to become part of the the military machine, right? To enlist. That's the word I'm looking for, to enlist. So he goes through, he's like, yeah, these are your scores, you did pretty well, blah, blah, blah. Now I only have one last question. Are you man enough to do it? And instantly I was like, oh. Because that doesn't work for me. It never worked. I never fell for the, are you man enough to whatever, because I was just this skinny kid with an attitude problem. I wasn't a manly man. I wasn't like, I wasn't effeminate. And I don't mean to say that in a way that's negative, like if you're an effeminate person, or if you're, a feminine man, whatever. That's, you do you. I don't have any problems with that. I wasn't, and I'm still not. But I didn't, like, the whole, are you man enough to do this? It didn't work for me. So I kind of was like, and I brushed it off, and in the end, of course, I did not enlist, obviously. And because they were trying to get people to sign up so that once you graduated, you'd immediately go straight to military camp and whatnot, and I wasn't having it. It wasn't what I wanted out of life. But throughout my life growing up, I have had, not always personally, but I've always seen the ads or heard people talk about it and be like, are you manly enough? Are you man enough for this? Are you, what are you, some kind of sissy? And I think that's a fundamental flaw in our outlook on each other. I know back decades ago, like in the 50s and sooner, earlier than that, there were the roles that people took. The man of the house would go to work and he'd earn the money, and the lady of the house would cook and clean and whatever, and I get that. But by the time I was aware of things, none of that was around anymore. Nobody did that so much. I mean, my mom worked until she couldn't. My dad worked. I knew plenty of men and women in my family who were older who worked. And I didn't think about things being specifically for men or for women. Now, we had on various TV shows, you had the caricatures of the effeminate men who were supposed to be implied to be gay or something like that. And they were usually the butt of the jokes and things of that nature. I was never really into that kind of stuff. I don't know. Sitcoms have always been a tough thing for me. I haven't ever liked a lot of sitcoms because I don't like the situational comedy. I don't like awkward comedy, and that's what most of it ended up being, awkward comedy. And kids in school would watch these, and then they'd get these jokes and they'd get these ideas. And we had a prank that kids tried to pull that was supposed to be like, oh, this is a gay test, ha ha ha, and it was just stupid. It's really stupid. But they would say, oh yeah, there's something on your shoe, and if you pulled your leg up towards you at the knee, like bent it in and up, I don't know if I'm doing this visually enough to look at it, then you were not gay. But if you looked at, like, if you turned and looked behind you, like if you're looking towards your backside and raised your foot behind you, kind of like how in the old movies when you'd have a kiss scene and the lady would lift her leg up behind her, like, ooh, demure, kind of whatever. If you did that to look to see if you had anything on your shoe, then apparently you were gay. Like, it was such a stupid thing as kids. And I knew what the joke was, so I didn't do it. I always did it, like, pulling it up towards myself and be like, and they would be like, "No, you're doing it wrong. Hey, there's something on your shoe. You just can't see it." And they'd get me to try to do it, and I'd be like, "No." It was a dumb thing anyway. Like, what would it matter? What would it matter? Right? And when I was going to school in high school, it was becoming a more common thing for teens to come out and be like, you know what, I am gay, I am this, I am whatever. And so it was getting to be a more acceptable thing, but it was just, there were always people who were like, he's this, he's whatever. Like, and unfortunately, that kind of thing still sticks around today. You have a lot of the language from that. You have a lot of language and slurs that carried over from when we were younger. And we learn them when we're younger, and we don't know the significance of them until we're older. But it becomes habit sometimes to refer to each other in this bad language and things of that nature. And it's just like the whole manliness. You got to be a man for this, and it's a man. If you're not this, then you're not manly enough, and whatever. And I hate it. I don't like it. Like, I hate the concept of certain qualities defining how manly you are, or what kind of a person you are, and it just, I don't know. It's frustrating that it still continues to this day. So when I see the Dr. Squatch commercials, and I see the Manlandia, and it's like, oh, this is what men want to smell like, and I'm kind of like, can we grow up? Can we seriously start growing up now? Like, when are we going to get over ourselves? When are we going to get over this attitude that if you want to be a manly man, you have to do this, and if you want to if you want to be a feminine lady, you have to be this, and I feel like, unfortunately, because there, again, and I'm not denying biology, there are certain traits that men have that women don't, and that women have and that men don't. It's just how these things work. And I know a lot of people are trying to say, well, that's all just a social construct, and some of it is, but some of it is just biology. There is a lot of biology that dictates certain versions of femininity and certain versions of masculinity, and it doesn't mean in attitude that you are any more or less of a person or a man or a woman or whatever than somebody else. But we're reluctant. We are reluctant to change our attitudes about things because this is canon. This is what we are now. And it's human nature, but it's a tough form of human nature that's really outdated. And I don't know if I'm ever going to see the end of it in my lifetime. I don't know if any of these issues are ever going to be changed. And I find it frustrating. I do. I just really find it frustrating. And I try to raise my daughter in a way that tells her that anybody can do pretty much anything. And she's taken it to heart. She sees some of the commercials and things, and she's like, well, that's just silly because whatever. And I'm glad to see that she has a good attitude about things. She's going to be a tough person to deal with for some people in the future if they are not over their prejudices. Because she's not going to take nothing from nobody. If somebody tries to tell her, well, you're the lady, you have to stay home and do this, she's going to be like, no, I don't. she's going to give him the what for. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of raising her that way. But if she wants to do as they suggest, then that's up to her and them. That's and I think I've done a good job with her of being able to be strong-willed enough to be able to make those kind of decisions for herself, and not in a way that society wants her to make. I think she's going to be immune to a lot of societal pressures. I hope so, anyway. I hope they don't beat her down too much, because it can be frustrating and it can be demoralizing. I think she's going to do okay, though. I can only hope. But I guess that's my rant for the evening about manly men and whatnot, because it's just ridiculous to me. It's always been ridiculous to me. It's always going to be ridiculous to me. And Dr. Squatch, please change your commercials. They're silly. They don't do it for me. Because of course you have to cater to me, clearly. I'm, not just one guy on his couch BSing, right? What other things do we have that we can talk about? We've got a few minutes left still to cover, and I don't want to just end the show super early. I've been playing the third edition, I suppose you could say, of the original Gears of War game. They had Gears of War, and then they had Gears of War Ultimate Edition, which was remastered. And now they have Gears of War Reloaded. And it's not different games, it's all the same game, redone for modern consoles, and it's not as good. It's the same game, but they've made some changes to it. Like the color palette is a little more washy. It's washed out. Where it looks like the colors were dark before, now they're kind of grayish. And they've done this weird thing with the cutscenes. I don't know if anybody else notices it. It's weird. The cutscenes seem to move, like the actual scenes themselves don't move any faster, but they seem shorter anyway. It feels like they shaved off a second or two, or even a few frames per second from each of the cutscenes, so they seem to rush, even though they're not sped up. Like the voices and everything aren't at a higher speed or anything like that. But it's a weird sensation. It feels like the game is moving too fast. Like the pacing is off, which is a common problem that I've said before with movies and things. The pacing, it's boom, 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 boom. Everything moves too fast, and it feels like that with the game. And certain other things don't seem to work. I just did a level where you were underground in the very beginning. It's one of the first few levels. You're underground, going to deploy the scanner that shows where the enemy tunnels are. And there's spots where you can shoot these pillars to make the ceiling collapse as a trap against certain squads of enemies. And it doesn't seem like shooting them works. I've been trying to bring these pillars down multiple times, and they don't work. So there's bugs in it. The people on your team will get in front of you, and then they won't move when you're trying to cross a bridge. So you have to wait for them to recover and to move. And then there was an option. There was not an option. There was a spot where we come across a guy who's getting attacked by the creatures, and they've got him on the ground. He's fighting off. He's like, But when you defeat the creatures, instead of him just like being collapsed on the ground, he's still got his arms up, frozen in a defensive pose on the ground there. And he's not like frozen as in that's what they do to you. He's dead. It's just a fault with the game model. Like he's supposed to lay down with his hands in his side, like, oh, I'm dead. But he's got his arms out, like, and I'm doing it even though you can't see it. But it looks like a groundhog, like with its hands up. Or a meerkat or something. Just, I don't know. He's just laying there. There's multiple instances of that. Whereas the Ultimate Edition, which came before that, which was the initial remaster, didn't have those problems. It felt like just a remastered edition of the original game. So, if you want to test this out, if you want to see what the game is like, it's on Game Pass. That's how I'm playing it. I didn't buy a third copy of Gears of War because I wasn't going to do that. And especially now that I've found out that it's not as good as the last one, I'm glad I didn't buy it. I'm just using it on Game Pass for free. So, if you're a Microsoft Xbox user, you can do that. I don't know if you're on PlayStation, if you can. I think you'd have to buy it. I don't know if it's on PlayStation Plus or anything. I'm not familiar with their system of how things like that work. But, yeah, I'm not impressed with Gears of War Reloaded. I think the Ultimate Edition previously is the better penultimate version of the game. Now, we're going to revisit this next year because they're doing something similar. I mean, it's a different company, it's a different game, but they're doing essentially a very similar thing. They are remaking the first Halo game from the ground up with the same levels and the same voices and the same whatever, but it's got all brand new, updated graphics, completely new skins, completely new movements, and all that other kind of stuff, new system. And, it's going to be on Game Pass day one, which I'm glad because if they mess it up, I'm going to be glad I didn't pay for it. But I'm willing to try it. It's going to be on Game Pass. So, but I've seen some of the trailers for it, and it looks decent. But I don't want it to turn out the way that Gears Reloaded did, because that's been a disappointment. But, again, it's on Game Pass. I'll play it for free, so I guess there's no harm in it. There's no reason not to. And it just kind of goes back to the episode 2 episodes ago, my Don't Call It a Comeback episode, where I was talking about remakes and things of that nature. It's just another thing that probably didn't need remade. They just put out, and this is kind of pointless too. They put out a Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition that's supposed to be remastered with all the extra stuff, and it's supposed to be like they're bundling it with the Skyrim Anniversary Edition, which didn't really add a whole lot, to be honest, either. They've resold Skyrim, Elder Scrolls, like 6 times now, at least. But Fallout 4 was less, like, at least with Elder Scrolls, they added things every time, so it was kind of, okay, well, to do the upgrade every time, it's fine, no big deal. But I don't really have any real reason to upgrade Fallout 4. I had mod support already, so I had all kinds of mods and whatever I wanted to do. And I haven't even finished the game yet, because Fallout's one of those games where once you finish, you can't keep playing. The game is over once you finish it. It's open world until the game is over, and then the game is over. But I don't think there was any need to redo it. It's still new-ish. It's not like here. I can look at, let's see, Fallout 4 anniversary. Let's see what excuse me. It doesn't say what date it originally came out, but it must have been a decade. It came out 10 years ago, which you would think, oh, maybe that's due for a remaster. But even a 10-year-old game, modern consoles have not jumped that much in 10 years. I know it's a surprise to some people, and people will argue about me they will argue with me or argue at me all day and say, well, look at the difference. Oh my gosh, how can you say it? There's modern consoles. I don't notice enough difference between my Series X and my Xbox One, graphics-wise, to justify anything like that. Now, functionality-wise, load times are better, controls are better, a multitude of other technical things are better, but graphics-wise, it's not that different. Not much has advanced in the last 10 years. And again, people are going to point to statistics, and they'll point to this thing. Look at the video cards, and look at this, and look at whatever, and 4K, and I don't buy 4K televisions because I don't have much content in 4K. And my eyes, I don't think, are good enough to see too much better than 1080p. 1080p is still good. It's perfectly fine at the size of TV I use and the content that I indulge in. 2K was whatever. 4K is overkill. I don't see a point. So I'm not convinced that the new consoles have really, other than again their technical capabilities, I don't think that they are graphically all that much better than the last generation of consoles. So I don't think Fallout 4 needed to be re-released in an anniversary edition. I don't think so. Maybe I'm a buzzkill, maybe I'm not the life of the party, but that's what I think. And with that being said, we're getting towards the end of our time here. We've only got a few more minutes left. It's getting close to Thanksgiving. I don't know what I'm going to do, if I'm going to do anything for it. I don't feel great still. Whatever constant throat issues I keep having. Hopefully I'm feeling good by then. I don't know. We'll see. When it's getting towards Thanksgiving season and getting towards the holiday season, I'm still going to be sticking with my episodes as I can do that. I don't feel like I'm taking a break. I'm not doing seasons for this show. Some shows benefit from seasons, but I'm not going to do it for this show. I don't think it's really necessary. I'm just going to keep trying to put out episodes weekly as I can do them and try not to get too burned out. we're almost at, I believe this will be episode 39, so I think we're going to be at, yeah, we're almost at 40 episodes, which is another pretty big accomplishment. I feel pretty good about that. It's almost 40 episodes of me just talking rubbish and things that are interesting to me. If you've been enjoying any of these episodes, if you've been enjoying the show, definitely let me know. You can send me an email. The email should be attached to this Spreaker profile if you're listening on Spreaker. If you're not, you can always leave me a comment, both here or on the various other podcast platforms that allow comments. Spotify will let you rate the podcast and leave comments. I don't know if iTunes and Amazon and those places will, but by all means, if you can, let me know. Let me know how I'm doing. I would love to hear your opinion. And if you haven't done so, of course, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm on YouTube. It's Spider Does Things. Spider Does Things. That's me on YouTube. And we, like I said, we're a YouTube partner now, which is pretty awesome. We have access to a few tools that are not as useful to me because of I don't do as much live videos on YouTube, and most of these things are geared towards live videos and things of that nature. Most of my stuff is pre-recorded, but I'm heading towards full ad revenue monetization as a YouTube affiliate. And the more you watch, the faster I can get there. The more videos you watch, the more time you spend on those videos. They measure it in hours watched, and I'm at, let's take a look where I'm at right now. It's usually a week behind the way that they measure these things. As of November 6th, which was, about 6 days ago, about a week, I was at 3,203 valid public watch hours. To get full YouTube affiliation, I have to have 4,000 valid public watch hours over the last 365 days. So I'm super close. I am super close. And once I hit that level and start collecting ad revenue, I can start thinking about contests and giveaways and just all kinds of different things that I can do to give back to the community, because I'll have the funds potentially to do so. And I would love to do that. I would love to give back, to support everyone who's supported me. And one last thing, if you would like to be one of my affiliates, if you would like to be affiliated with Uncanny Media, send me an email. Present your case. It's real simple. I will promote you, and you will promote me. Give and take. Super simple. No money has to change hands. It's a business deal, but it's not a business deal based on you having to spend a certain amount or to pay to play or anything like that. I will support you with my promotional machine, which I used to get me from less than 100 subscribers on YouTube last year to 2,600 plus this year. That's all been through the effort of my promotional work. And in return, you will put my logo on things that you put out and let people know that you're affiliated with Uncanny Media. Anytime you do a video, you'll mention it. You'll put my little logo on there, and then that's it. You don't got to talk at length. You don't got to sell anything for me. You don't work for me as an employee. I don't have a quota that you have to do. And I will promote you, and you'll promote me. It's simple stuff. If you want to take the deal, let me know. Email me. I'd love to set something up. I'm doing great things for my current affiliates already, and I know many of them have already seen dividends, and I'm appreciative of their efforts on their own behalf and on my behalf. And I'm doing my best to help them with everything they need help with. So, with all that out of the way, again, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow the podcast on various podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And we'll all grow together. We'll all move forward as one big uncanny family. That's all I have for you tonight. Tune in next week. Who knows what it's going to be. It's going to be awesome, probably. Maybe. Most likely. Have a good night.